Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Zone YouTube channel. And in this one here, I see January transfer windows come to an end, and Premier League is the league in terms of spending over the last few years, including the January transfer window. So I thought I'll go through all 20 Premier League clubs, give a bit of a grade in terms of how I saw their January transfer window, what they needed, what they got, what they didn't get, and wrap it all up with a nice, tidy grade for each club. Some did nothing, some did a lot. Some needed to do more, I think is the best way to put it. There was a lot of spending, but only by a few clubs in the end. And that sort of probably, over enhances the Premier League spending because only a few clubs did all the spending in the end. And a lot of clubs didn't do too much. I think this is the effect of PSR. A lot of loan deals with the obligations to buy or back-ended contracts. It's really hard to fully understand most of the deals, but I'm just looking at on a blank slate. Who they brought in, who I thought each team needed to bring in, and giving it all in all a grade for that one there. Start at the top with the second place in the Premier League, Arsenal. Who do they need? A striker, any striker. Somebody can put the ball or head the ball in the back of the net. They picked up no one in the end. Obviously, they lost the young star Heaven to Manchester United to join Chidioba Martin. So literally no one picked up for Arsenal, and as such, it's an F. You're a team that's trying to push to close the gap to Liverpool. It could be 9. It is 6 points. You had a great win on the weekend versus Man City. Surely a late deal for somebody. Victor Gyökeres doesn't look like he wants to come to the club. Matheus Cunha probably isn't the right answer, but I think that was an option, and a valuable option. He ends up signing with Wolves. I don't like Sesko as an option leading a big line for a big club. So in the end, nothing happens. Ollie Watkins was linked. I can't see him in an Arsenal jersey. As much as he's a fan and stuff, I just couldn't see him there. But surely could have done a deal for somebody to lead the line. They're still going with Kai Havertz now for the back end of the season. They're not addressing that lack of midfield depth for me. Yes, you brought in Marino and Jorginho is there, but when it's not Rice, Partey or Odegaard, that midfield drop-off is poor. They didn't address the winger situation. They need more winger depth as well. The back line's fine. The goalkeeper's fine for me. You need a midfield and wing player as well as a centre forward, most importantly, and he addressed none of those problems. So it's a smack bang F for me. Arsenal, as much as they think they're there, they're not spending like a their club. And obviously we'll get to Man City in a minute, but they've addressed their problems pretty obviously, and they've gone and spent in the right areas. Arsenal, I don't know what they're waiting for because they're second in a league next to Liverpool, who have been fantastic this season, but they haven't spent. What a great chance to close the gap by buying a massive striker. Putting enough money for Victor Gyökeres to say, I have to come to this football club. It just seems strange that they've allowed that opportunity to miss. Put so much money in front of Aston Villa that they have to sign Ollie Watkins. I think they're too afraid of breaking the bank. But I think for them, breaking the bank is going to lead to a possibility of a title. FA Cup, Champions League, Premier League. But with this current squad, I can't see them winning anything, to be honest with you. So I think it's a smack bang F for me. Next is Aston Villa. This is what you call shopping very, very smartly. Obviously, they lose Duran. Philogene goes as well for 25 million euros in the end. Great deal. It's a lot of money for a championship player. Emi Buendia leaves on loan. Diego Carlos, I think, is a big loss. He went to Fenerbahce to join Jose Mourinho. And obviously, John Duran for 77 million euros is way overs. He's a fantastic player, and it's a shame he left the league. But 77 million euros for a 20-goal out of 80-game player. Fantastic business for them. And then what they did with that, they spent 20 million on Donyell Malen. It's probably a 50 million euros player. They bring Marcus Rashford, Marco Asensio, Axel Disasi in on loan. Obligations to buy for all of them. Fantastic work. I think it's an A, not quite an A plus because most of those players are going to be bench players. I think if you brought a proper superstar in, then it becomes an A plus. I think still a little bit worried defensively. Axel Disasi for me, a little bit mistake prone. Chelsea fans, we know they don't like him because hasn't been too consistent. Has been a big drop-off when he starts. So, again, he's coming in as a backup, but if you got a serious superstar in, that elevates this transfer into an A+. But considering it's January, you brought in 4 different players to bolster the squad. Someone like Marcus Rashford, who can potentially work out very, very well. In the end, I don't believe he'll work out well, but there's opportunity he could light it up at Aston Villa. I think it's a great move. You got Champions League winner Marco Asensio as he go into the Champions League knockout stages. I think this is fantastic for them. As I said, A for me, they just didn't quite get that superstar in, which I think elevates them even further. But it's a fantastic window. Next comes Bournemouth. Julio Soler joins as a left back. That's future planning. I like that for Milos Kerkez, who's probably bound to go come the summer. I think Liverpool would be a great option for him with Andy Robertson aging. Anyone in world football will probably take it at the moment. He's playing fantastically well. So that's great future planning. But with no striker, no Ennis now, no Evanilson at the current point in time, I think it had to be a striker or a forward. Dango Tyler is fantastic. He scored that hat-trick. But if Bournemouth want to be serious this season and actually push Champions League and Europa League football, they've got it in number 9. They didn't address that. They could address some midfield depth areas as well with Philip Billing leaving for Napoli, but none of those areas were addressed. So for me, it's a D. I think I have a lot of expectations for Bournemouth. They normally spend very, very smartly and very well. I thought it was a great opportunity to get one of those young players in midfield and then a striker, at least on loan, to just fill the hole while you've got some injury problems, but they addressed neither, and now their squad's very thin as they come in towards the back end of the season here. So quite disappointing for Bournemouth in the end. Moving next to Brentford. No one of note signed or sold, so I've just whacked a C in for them. They've got a decent squad. Their injuries, the injury list is shortening a little bit. That comes in handy. But again, it's Brentford. They're not much big spenders. They didn't really sell anyone of note either, so smack bang average C for them. Next is Brighton. The southern side made a lot of moves. Diego Gomez, Aaron Cashin, Stefanos Simas all signed. Jakob Murder, Enciso, Valentin Barco, Evan Ferguson all on the way out. So 4 in, 3 in, 4 out in terms of the big names. I don't mind it. I think it's a really, really solid window. Again, can't say no. Many of the players have come into the football club, but we trust the Brighton recruitment. I trust them in. I give them all the faith in the world. Enciso, Barco leaving on loan with Ferguson. Fantastic, in my eyes, because they're players that weren't getting enough game time, but are serious talents. See what they're all about on loan. If they're worth keeping, you'll see that, especially like of Evan Ferguson at a West Ham side that strikers have failed miserably in the past. If he can go perform there, you know there's a proper player in there. Julio Enciso, again, a player. If he can keep Ipswich up, you bring him back and you keep him in this side here. Just unfortunate that João Pedro's been fantastic. He sort of kicked him out of that position there. And Valentin Barco was a weird one. I had a lot of expectations for him, but he seems to be like third choice fullback at this current point in time. So all deals that needed to happen. Get them out on loan, get them some experience, brought in some younger players. I don't mind it. For me, I was tossing it up because it's not a crazy window, but it's solid nonetheless. I think I went with a B. I think it's a good window, far from great and not really average. So it sits in the middle there. A B window for Brighton, this one. Chelsea next. This was disappointing. They obviously need a goalkeeper. I thought they might have recalled Kepa, to be honest, in this window here, but they didn't do that. They brought back Trevor Chalobah from loan, and now I'm hearing that they're going to sell him again come the summer. So that was just seems like a waste of time. Obviously, they desperately needed a centre-half. They brought him back. But you could have signed a centre-half, I thought. You obviously let go of Carney Chukwuemeka, Renato Vega. Renato Vega had a fantastic first game for Juventus. I don't mind letting them go, but I'm pretty sure they're both obligations to buy as well. So I think they'll both end up leaving as well. So more young talent leads the door. And no one really bought in to fill in the spots. I think a lot of talent there. Obviously, João Felix goes as well. There's a lot of players. There's so many players. But I think actually some of them are good enough, to be honest. I love Nani Madueke, but he's not going to win you a league title. Look at that midfield there. Caicedo, Levitt, that's fine. Defensively, there's just so many problems. There's a lot of players there, but none of them really good enough. And the goalkeeper situation. I think you had to address the centre-back and goalkeeper situation. And then if you really nailed it, maybe you get a real star on the flanks. So for me, it's a D. I think the goalkeeper one you had to address. You didn't do that. As such, it's a D for Chelsea for me. Coming to Crystal Palace, I loved this window. Chilwell in on loan. Roman Essa coming in as well from Millwall. Fantastic signing. One for the future in Roman Essa. And Chilwell to give that quality to the side. Add that real unique ball-playing ability from a fullback. Tyrick Mitchell is a great up-and-down type fullback. He fills the wing-back role in terms of his running intensity, but his ball-playing is not quite there. Chilwell will thrive in a 3-back as being that wing-back there. Hopefully he stays fit. I think it's worth a punt. I think it's a good decision in the end. And as such, I just see it being an A for Crystal Palace. Get that young player in to fill the Michael Elise hole. You get Chilwell in as well. If he works, you probably keep him. I don't think Chelsea want to keep him on the wage bill. You bring him across. You've got a new wing back there. Tyrick Mitchell, you can relegate him to a second choice fullback or wing back or sell him on for some money. So I think it's a great deal for Crystal Palace. And I'd give them, an A for that one there because great quality comes in. Everton, C, nothing of note at all from Everton. But I guess it becomes an A because you've got David Moyes in the end. But C for me, nothing really happens at Everton. And they probably don't need it because they've got the talent just to stabilise this season. Then next year under David Moyes, they can really make those I guess, big punches in terms of making some big signings there. Fulham, again, another funny one. Nothing of note really in or out, but Willian looks like he's coming back to the club, and that just makes it a B-. It just elevates it just above average because it adds some depth up top, helps like Alex Iwobi, Adama Traore, Wilson as well up top as a depth option. He can bring off the bench. He's smart on the ball. If you're playing a low block in particular, he'll have the ability to break that side down. If you're looking for a winner and finding a cross or ball into the box, you've got that in Willian now off the bench. Fantastic Fulham player, like really, really good Fulham player. Surprisingly, considering his age, I think 36 now. So, age is just a number for him because he's more of a talented ball player. So I actually like the deal in the end, bringing him back. He's worked under Silva's management. He's worked at Fulham, so I think it's a great deal for them. So B- for me. Great to bring him back and great to have some more depth to the side there. Next up is the Tractor Boys, Ipswich. This is an A+ for me. The amount of players that brought in. Godfrey comes in on a loan. Jaden Philogene for 25 million euros or thereabout. Julio Enciso on a loan. And Palmer, the goalkeeper from West Brom, for 2 million. This is a fabulous window. Again, if you like Enciso, get him in on a permanent. They might go down, but that's a real talented squad that should just be able to rebound straight back up. Similar to how we can view this Burnley side. Again, they lost a lot of talent, but they kept a large bunch of those young players, and it's going to see them rebound straight back up into the Premier League. So for Ipswich, this is future planning. This is the ability to also compete and stay up now. They have a real scrap here with Wolves to try and get out of that relegation zone. So you've added the quality there. You've got a great number 10 in Julio Enciso, a great wide player in Jaden Philogene, a great goalkeeper that's better than Muric in Palmer, and Godfrey at the back was playing okay for Atalanta before he sort of got phased out of that back line there. So all over the park, you've got starters, and that's a positive. You add them around your leaders in your side, like the Delaps and Morseys. You've got a really solid core that can compete and can potentially avoid the drop. So A+ for Ipswich. They absolutely nailed it in this one here. For Leicester, gone with a D. No one added at all in this window, or no one of note. I've really wanted a new centre-half for them. I don't like the current combination at the back. Even another forward that's not like a Jordan Ayew, like a younger player that can potentially cause problems, like a Romanessa, like Crystal Palace sign. If you can sign a young, talented player that could cause problems and help Jamie Vardy out, that would have been fabulous, but they didn't do that. And for that reason, I can't see them staying up, to be honest with you. They're just too inconsistent. They're not good enough defensively. They're not good on the ball. They need one of those ball players, a creator, a spark, or a rock-solid central defender. And I didn't address any of that. So I think I'm being probably lenient giving them a D because with the current squad, they're not staying up and they haven't addressed that problem there. So D for Leicester for me. Same as Liverpool. I went with a D because you're the top of the Champions League, you're top of the Premier League, your last two signings, Chiesa, and I believe there was another loan deal as well in there as well, but nothing of note. You haven't actually brought anyone in that's going to, push you forward. It's a great squad. It's a fantastic 11. But as they're currently built, one injury to a key player, it all sort of falls apart. Would have loved some reinforcement defensively, such as a wing-back, Milos Kerkez, anyone else in that wide area there as well. I think support in the middle of the park as well. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister, fantastic. But the drop-off, Elliott and Curtis Jones are fantastic this season, but the drop-off is there. Could you get another great midfielder in as well? I know I'm being very nitpicky here, but you're the top of the Champions League, you're top of the Premier League, you're in all the cups. It could be a fabulous season. I would have reinforced that with some more signings. I just think the Chiesa signing hasn't been that great. And I think you need more than that if you want to compete in all competitions. A centre-half, Ibrahima Konate, Van Dijk, fantastic. But you go to Yaro Kwanzaa, I don't really like it. So a wing-back, a centre-half, potentially midfield reinforcement could have been done. Liverpool don't often spend too much, so you can understand that. But when you're such a good side and you're on top of everything, one injury could derail the season. I think they should have just better future plan and bulked up the squad a little bit more considering the amount of football they'll play. So I've gone with a D for them. Man City, well, this just speaks for itself. This is an A triple plus if there ever was one. Kusanov, Reis, Marmoush, Gonzalez, 218 million euros spent, all young players, all for the future. Gives the buzz around the football club. You can see they're running out of legs right now, Man City. That 5-1 loss to Arsenal was them just looking tired, looking second rate in terms of their energy and their intensity. They've been pressing and playing this Pep Guardiola football now for years on end, and you can tell the players look fatigued, they look slow. You introduce 4 young superstars, 4 players for the future, 4 talented players, a superstar in Omar Marmoush. You breathe life, you bring energy into this team again, and that's a positive. So it's an A++. And then, like we've sort of, I guess, theorised about, if they do get a future transfer ban, they've prepped for the future already with these 4 transfers in January. It's the second most a team has ever spent in January, behind Chelsea in that first season under Todd Bowley. So a lot of money spent, and to be honest, a lot of good players signed in. What I've seen so far, I'm really excited to see what Gonzalez as well as Omar Marmoush are all about in this Man City side, because they're very, very talented players. They're joining an already elite Man City side. Going across the zone to the red side of Manchester, F. Flat bang F. You brought in Dorgu, decent deal, 30 million's a lot of money for a young, unproven fullback, but you need him in the end. But the problem is you let go of Malacia, Rashford, Anthony. You've only got 4 players who can play up top: Garnacho, Zertsky, Højlund, and Ahmad. So you lose all the depth from up top. The left back's unproven. You lose out to Matisse Tell because you didn't want to pay £5 million for the loan deal, and you lose out to Tottenham, a direct rival. It's been embarrassing. Yeah, the squad's thin, the squad's old, and the players you have got, which are thin, some of them really shouldn't be there. Christian Eriksen, Casemiro. I think Zertsky needs a loan. I think Malacia, yes, he hasn't been that great, but the depth you need, because Luke Shaw's just not going to be available. So you're still going back to one left back. It just seems a lot of backwards work for Manchester United. Shows a lack of intent, shows what the club is. It's just embarrassing all over the park, to be honest. So United an F, that's probably a symbol of the season so far. Up to the Magpies next, Newcastle. I've gone with a C-. A strange window. Obviously, Almiron gets sold back to the MLS, so you lose depth at the top end of the park. Yes, he's not a superstar, not a starter, but he has moments in his game. That's a valuable backup up top. For me, Lloyd Kelly is a weird one as well. You signed him, now you've let him go on loan to Juventus. Again, lose depth central defensively, especially considering the injury problems they've had across the last few years and forcing Dan Burn to play centre-half. Seems weird to let go of a centre-half you literally bought in the summer. So a little bit backwards from then. They didn't really need to address too many areas. But again, a team and a club like this, it shows intent. If you can make a young signing or you're loaning a player that's potentially for the future or support that front line, I think a right winger was desperately needed. Yes, it seems like more of a summer deal, but it shows intent if you want to bring him in now and try and capitalise on this season here. Because their seasons are weird at the moment. They've had big moments, they've had poor moments, not much in between, not much stability. And I think that comes with building a really solid squad. The midfield looks fantastic. There is defensive depth, but I think right wing, maybe a fullback, is where they've been short in recent weeks. And I feel like they could have picked up at least one of those areas in this break, especially considering they've let go of Almiron and let go of Lloyd Kelly. So a weird one. So C- for Newcastle. Not average, slightly below for me because you haven't quite addressed any areas you've lost in. Nottingham Forest. I've gone with a C-. You lost Ward-Prowse back from loan to West Ham. Dennis has gone away on loan. For me, the thing was you missed out on Matheus Cunha. Would have been a great foot, I don't know, but there was links there. They've made a lot of great moves over the last few years. The squad's playing fantastic. So I can't really argue about it, but you've ended up losing more players than you've gained in. You haven't signed anyone, haven't shown that intent to stay a top 3 side in the Premier League. It's hard to, but I think that as such, it just has to be a little bit below average. It's not a failure of a transfer window, but it would have been nice to add some more talent to this already very talented side. I think potentially another winger to be back up to Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Alango. If one of them drop out, you've got that depth for the proper quality winger that can back them up, show a sign that you are a European team. But all in all, you can't expect too much from Forest. They've spent so much in the last few seasons. So yeah, put a C- for them. Nothing very pretty at all there. Southampton, C+ for me. There's a few names they brought in, some young talent, centrally, defensively as well. But it's not going to be enough to save them. So it's a C+ because you brought some talent in. They'll play in the Championship. Hope you try and get the club back up, but it ain't going to save them this season. So nothing more than a C+ there for me. Coming to the last few clubs, starting with Tottenham. I think this is an A. Matisse Tell, a very, very exciting player. One for the future. I think it's a massive deal to bring him in. And Kinski as well. be interesting when Vicario comes back, because Kinski's had some great moments in goal to cover that spot in terms of injuries, and Danto essentially defensively, considering all the injuries they've had. They've addressed those areas. A forward, a goalkeeper, and a central defender. They're areas they desperately needed, losing key players to injury. So fantastic window for Levy and Tottenham. Is it going to further them or be key players going to win trophies for Spurs? No, but they've addressed the areas they needed this season. They're in a crisis with injuries and play style, and everything's off the field at the moment. Seems to be going wrong with Spurs. So I think they'll take this window. 3 younger players, 3 very talented players, 3 players that could become Spurs legends in a few years' time. So fantastic window for them. A for me, not quite an A+. There's no superstar joining, or you haven't got a new number 9 that can win you a title. So it's not an A+. But I think it's very, very close to it. They've covered the areas they needed. So Spurs an A for me. Our penultimate team, West Ham, I think it's an A-. James Ward-Prowse coming back's a big get for them. Add some more quality in the middle of the park, especially in a Graham Potter side that's going to play more on the ball, more in possession. And the big one is, Ferguson coming to the side. A lot of questions around him, but a great opportunity for him to lead the line. And West Ham have had a lot of problems with strikers. We've seen Paqueta, Bowen playing up top. Obviously, Antonio with that awful car incident. But no one's really taken the striker role by the scruff there. Nicholas Füllkrug struggled. And the fact that he struggled this season, it's showing me that this role is almost very much cursed. But Ferguson could be that guy to change it around. Needs to turn around in his career. What an opportunity. What a signing for me. I think it's fantastic. The only reason it's not an A or an A+ is I think they need a centre half. The Mavropanos experiment has to end for me. I don't like him at the back. Tadebo's there or thereabouts. There's no real quality centre half that's going to elevate this side. I think that's the massive hole they've been missing, and they didn't address. Obviously, striker and centre back are the 2 spots. They addressed one, not the other. As such, for me, an A-. Not quite that A or A+ level transfer window for them. And for Wolves, give it an A- as well. Agbadou signing a centre half. Jigger as well signing in centre half. Another Red Star signing there as well, which is going to be exciting. Munetsi as well, another workhorse in centre of the park, looking at some of his stats and his history this season. So look, it's not going to really elevate them too much. They needed central defenders, so they've got 2 of them. That's a great win. The Munetsi signing, he's not going to do too much for me. He's not going to overwhelm and change their season. They're going to get some form and continuity. These players aren't ridiculous. That's why it's not an A or A+, but they've addressed the areas they needed to for Wolves. They're desperately needing centre-backs. There has been a massive problem at the club with their central defenders. So 2 new centre-back signings, that's massive for me. As such, it's an A-. Again, no superstars joining that can help this side and keep them well and truly safe, but players they need to fill in positions they need to cover. So for me, an A- for Wolves. And then that wraps up every single team's grade from their January transfer window. As I said, some clubs did nothing. Some clubs did absolutely a lot. Think about Wolves, Man City, Tottenham. But teams like Manchester United needed to do more. Arsenal needed to do more. And there's clubs that just didn't do anything at all, like Liverpool, Leicester, Nottingham Forest. It's a lot in between. Again, January's become very difficult in recent years, especially with PSR. You've seen it best become a loan market in the end. But I think some clubs nailed it, and that's bright for their seasons. While some other clubs are, I think, going to struggle on the back end of the year with a lack of depth and lack of quality in their sides. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, though, guys. What are your views on all these clubs and their January transfer windows? Let me know in that comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, smash a like on it, subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more videos like these, and press that post notification bell so you know we upload more videos like these on the channel. With that being said, guys, have a great day. Enjoy the weekend's football action coming up, and I'll see you guys in the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.